Welcome back to the new podcast. My name is JERiCK.
And my name's Felicia.
This is the Jivij podcast. Yeah. Sorry.
Starting great.
I'm a little nervous right now. It's been 3 years since we did a podcast.
Has it been 3 years?
Yes. I looked at it. It was 2021. I don't know the exact month, but it was 2021. So it's been 3 years.
In my mind, I was thinking this definitely took place last year.
It does feel like that.
I feel like that's how quickly the years have gone by.
Yeah.
But then again, there's been so much change, so.
That is true.
I'm not mad, but I didn't realize it was in 2021.
Yeah, I just looked at it the other day, and yeah, it's 2021. Time just flew. So
I don't even remember what we spoke about. All I remember is for that podcast, I felt like I was very negative all the time.
Just every time we recorded a podcast?
Negative Nancy. I think there was parts of me that was trying to be happy and motivational, but I think internally I was not. So I just feel like at some point in the conversation, it would turn very negative, like with no hope for change.
Yeah. Honestly, so with this new podcast, because I thought about it a lot, because I wanted it to be on, the self-improvement, spirituality, and
Right.
very focused on growth.
Yeah.
And I obviously still want to do that, but then also, like, that's not all of me. That's
Right,
only
right.
a part of me. Like, I feel like I want this podcast to be a lot of, not necessarily like everything, but like not so,
Niche.
I guess, I don't want to put myself in a box where it's just, we're all just going to talk about self-improvement.
Right, right.
Always positive in a way, which is because I don't want it to be preachy.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think it would end up being that way. I think
Because I think I just want to talk about experiences,
Right.
life, and just,
And maybe I was wrong in saying that I was so negative. I think when I think back at it, maybe there was partially negativity, but complaining. I felt like I was complaining a lot,
Were you?
Yeah. And mainly because of my job, like where I'm at now.
I never noticed it.
I feel like that was the energy I had. I was always complaining and like, I just want to do this full time. And I wasn't even taking photos then, but it's so
Like
interesting.
you wanted to do this like
the
studio.
yeah. But it's so interesting now because I feel completely different about my professional career, like my 9 to 5.
It's still the same job, right?
It's still the same job, but then also this has grown, like the creative.
The creative
world.
space
Yeah.
studio.
But no, I agree with you. I think, I don't know. I'm really big on experiences right now.
Yeah, because I think I just want to have a conversation about life.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be like, I need to be teaching people all the time.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Because honestly, when I came up with this podcast, I was like, all right, I needed to just be focused on that, and that's it. Because like I just want to help as many people as I can.
Right.
But then I've been watching a lot of podcasts lately, and a lot of my interest is just kind of random.
All over the place.
And I think like I don't want it to be just, if they're not really focusing too much on their growth right now, and then they're not gonna watch this because
Right.
that's all we talk about.
I think at the end of the day, the people that need to find your podcast will, right? And then you'll grow your audience organically. And I mean, realistically, we're not like professionally or educated in like this, you know what I mean? So, and I think a lot of people now, especially this like new wave of like spirituality or energy, or like a lot of people exploring that, is finding that relation or that commonality with just other people's experiences. Like, I feel like that's what it comes back to.
Yeah, and I
You know?
think it's not even all about just like the light or like because I think when you're in that spiritual growth, I feel like people tend to focus too much on like, oh, what can I fix and blah blah blah, and that's all great. But then also like at the same time, like you're human, you gotta live
Right.
your life, and it's
Yeah.
not all about just I need to be high vibes all the time.
Right.
I mean, we all try to aim to be high vibes all the time, but I don't think that's realistic. Some
No.
days you're just like, fuck this, you
Yeah.
know?
No, absolutely.
I think, and also, so funny thing is, that's the reason why I chose jivij. Ji is actually my initials, but I wanted it to have like a mirror, kind of like the yin yang sign.
Right.
And that's why I chose jivij, which is Jivij,
Right.
to kind of like,
Be
at least
good.
in my mind, it was like, oh, light and shadow, but I don't know
Oh,
if that really
nice.
translates to it, but
Translates to
it makes sense to me.
I know. It's like we don't want to go down the route of spirituality, but now everyone I talk to these days, I feel like at some point talks about light and shadow.
Yeah.
That's definitely my
And I
path.
think it's because like it's duality. Like I don't think you can just be one or the other.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, life does not. No matter how hard we try, life will not give you the opportunity to live in a linear path.
Yeah.
You know?
But yeah, so update on your life, Felicia. What's
I have to update.
I
You
mean,
should update yourself first.
No,
Or
you go first.
You should me go first? Okay, fine. I'll go first. So, gosh, since 3 years ago, my goodness.
what's new? What's different? You seem different.
I do seem
I mean-
different. Yeah. I think that difference though is fairly recent. So with the studio, a couple things took place. We moved studios again.
What's the name of the studio? Just for the people
Masterpiece Studio. Masterpiece. Peace as in PEACE.
Yeah.
Not
It's-
like
it's
peace.
not.
Piece of pie. Peace. But so Masterpiece Studio moved back into our old location where we originally started, but we didn't have that room just yet. We just wanted a bigger space. And to cut the story short, we over the last 2 months have renovated, or the the leasing or the property management renovated, and so we have a huge space now. There's no wall divide. We took out the ceilings, so we have high ceilings, and you can see the cement. So it really plays into almost like the world that my husband and I are trying to immerse ourselves in. It's just being in that like bigger city studio, let's shoot,
Yeah.
high fashion, editorial. And that's the other thing that changed too, is me shooting. I wasn't taking photographs.
Yeah. 3
like I
years
was.
ago, you weren't really taking
No,
photos, right?
I started shooting consistently September of 2022. The day before my sister's birthday, I shot on my grandfather's
So
birthday.
2 years ago.
2
now.
years ago. Yeah.
Nice.
Almost. A year and some change.
And honestly, she's killing it. She's so good. I was very surprised. I was like, damn, Felicia.
Where have you been? I don't want to say a lot of people were surprised, but I do have the feeling that some people were like, what the heck just happened? But I truly feel photography was one of those, it's always been a part of my journey. I just found it extremely late.
Like, were you taking photos low key or?
No. So funny enough, I in college tried to take a photography class, which I failed because I never did any of the assignments. And when I was in Vegas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when I did the community college out there. And every now and then, because my husband, Anthony, had a camera, sometimes I'd be like, oh, let me take a picture. And I'd like take pictures of scenery and whatnot. And sometimes they'd turn out pretty good. But I honestly did not take photographs for a very long time because of you and PJ.
Why?
Because I don't know why I get in my head like this, but I felt like, oh, well, if I start taking pictures now, they're going to think that I'm just hopping on the wagon.
Hopping on the bandwagon, Felicia.
I have no idea, but it's silly. I understand that it's silly now because I love taking photos, and I think where I'm at right now is just trying to figure out what I want to do or how I want to present myself as an artist.
So, from 3 years ago, did you ever think about like being a photographer? Was that really, or was it just like,
no,
this is kind of cool taking photos on my phone?
This absolutely came by surprise. And in some weird way, like this studio was kind of like the push.
Yeah.
Because we owned a studio, right? We owned a photography studio.
You did, but you didn't shoot.
Had clients as photographers that would come in, but us ourselves did not shoot. Right? It sounds kind of backwards. And so now that I'm shooting, I'm like, oh, okay. One, I really enjoy it. Two, I did surprise myself. But it's almost like it clicked. Like everything started to make sense.
Right.
A lot of my creative experiences, years ago make sense. It just all came together.
What were the creative experiences? Like the set designs and all that?
So, I mean, set designs, yes. I've always been artsy, just doing whatever I felt in my heart, right? But I'm speaking more of having ideas that always involved a photographer. Like I would create series in my head or like have visions or ideas of like what I wanted this end result to look like. But I wasn't taking photos at the time. So I'm like, wonder if JERiCK or PJ can do it. And it just never came to fruition. And I even spoke to other photographers like, trying to get certain concepts out. And then those never came to fruition. And then once I started shooting and I was, doing pretty good, I was like, okay, that's why my brain worked the way it did.
Yeah.
Because I was the person at the end of the day who needed to capture those.
Yeah. Well, fun fact, you actually took my first photo, not cover album.
Oh, did I really? Oh,
remember
the blue and the blue and the
No. Well, the yellow one.
Oh, when we did
where we built a set
design. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
You don't remember that?
I remember setting it up, but I just pressed the shutter, y'all. I did not.
But you
put the settings.
But you had like you built the set. We both kind of worked on it. But yeah, I still use that photo for my profile.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I was thinking we need to update your photo and have it incorporate like who you are now as a person.
Because I am so much different now too.
And I would love to take the photo.
Well, let's
if
do
you'd
it.
Let me.
If you have ideas, Felicia, I'm down.
We'll talk about it. We can, incorporate this new wave of photography that I'm trying to get into.
Yeah.
My own wave.
What's your new wave?
I had a horrible. I was trying to be funny with pop culture and bring up JoJo Siwa and how she's being bashed right now for making statements that she's the original person for different genres or yada yada yada. But I was saying that I'm trying to get into this new world of photography for me. I'm sure someone else is doing it as well.
It's so hard to claim being original of the thing.
You're inspired by everything you see.
Yeah.
Like even if it's not intentional, if I see something, it's gonna, imprint in my brain, and at some point it's gonna be like, oh, look at this wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Who cares? It's not like, I think people mistake copying and inspiration. I guess at some point they could be interchangeable, but they're still very different. Right? Because at the end of the day, if you're the person who's doing that same, like say a photo, if you are a photographer who's inspired by another photographer who does this type of shooting, and you're like, oh shoot, I want to try that. Why can't you try it?
Do it.
And it's kind of like, if I'm the other person putting it out there, people are gonna take inspiration from it.
Yeah. And like, what's that quote? Is it like good artists? Is it good artists borrow, great artists steal, or something like that? Like,
I don't know. Like I've never heard that.
There's a quote like that
Don't
where
steal art. Don't steal other people's.
But it was just basically saying that like if you see something that really inspires you, like
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to kind of do the same thing, but like add your twist to it, you know,
Right.
instead
Yeah,
of just kind of,
absolutely.
because I feel like there's no really, it's so hard these days to have like an original idea
Right.
because everything is kind of been done before,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's just kind of, um, I guess, as long as you put your own twist to it,
Mm-hmm.
you can make original art out
Right.
of that.
And that's usually how it is. And I think right now, because we're in such an era where technology is so in your face. I mean, you
Hmm.
have all these social media platforms, we're on our phones. Like, you see everybody's art,
Yeah, you're
you
just
know?
consuming all
So
the
it's
time.
just, yeah, exactly. It's hard to separate yourself. And I even had that conversation with my husband. I was like, I want to stop looking at Instagram and Pinterest because I just want to create my own ideas. And I personally think I have enough of my own just coming from personal experiences
Yeah.
that I can produce that. But another thing that I'm challenged by is, because right now I still take clients, is when they present an idea, it's usually something that comes from somebody else or a Pinterest.
Yeah, because the thing with that is like I see what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
but then also there are things that um, I don't know if trigger is the right word, but it triggers an inspiration.
Right.
Like when you see something and when you hear something, especially
Mm-hmm.
for me, since I do music, like I would hear a song
Mm-hmm.
that I was like, oh man, like the beat on this is really good.
Right.
Like I'm gonna try to recreate this, but in my own way. Like a lot of my songs have been like that. It's kind of like a recreation of the things that I've
Right.
heard.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this is really good. Like I could probably do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you put it side by side, where I got the idea from, it's a totally different
It's still
song.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good comparison or
Yeah.
analogy to
Just
use.
kind of the same with like photos too. Like I'm sure you see something like, oh, like that's a cool lighting.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like
And at the end of the day, I mean, I didn't learn from that person how to
Mhm.
do that lighting.
yeah.
So I'm recreating that based off what I think or what I
Yeah.
currently know, in my craft. And I think that goes for any artist or musician, or it's okay to be inspired. Don't
Yeah.
be a complete knockoff.
Yeah.
It's okay to be inspired.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a difference between people who are just kind of copying and
Yeah.
not changing.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
and you know we are. I'm just kidding.
Do you?
I'm just
I don't
calling out
I don't
people.
think they do. But all right, yeah. So that's the creative life, the photography, and there's a lot more that can go on to it. But then it would turn into like a photography conversation.
Yeah.
But outside of that, in the last 3 years, I still am at my same job, but I'm in a different position. I'm a training and development manager, and I absolutely love it. And it's actually gotten a lot better even in the last couple months because I've had an opportunity to expand my team. And it's a completely different world. Like I feel like I get to be in that manager role and be a little bit more strategic.
Yeah.
So I'm thoroughly enjoying going there.
Nice.
And
Because I remember you talking about your job
Mm-hmm.
before, and you were like, "I need to leave this."
yeah, the position itself was not for me, and then even some of the experiences that I had with certain peers also made it very challenging. And those things still take place, like some of the tension between other coworkers.
Yeah.
But I try to be in my own bubble, and I'm because of therapy have gotten to a place now where I know what I'm capable of. I know why that year or those couple years went the way it did. You know what I mean? So there's been like a lot of self-realization to where, yeah, it was a hard year for me, and I'm sure the outward perspective of it looked like I had no idea what I was doing because
Yeah.
that was the reality. But thankfully, I have a boss that has been supportive through this journey and has encouraged, getting help and being consistent, right? And so
Yeah. You mentioned therapy.
It's been
Let's
nice.
deep
Yeah.
dive a little bit.
uh,
So, what made you decide to do therapy?
ooh, well, it was getting really bad. Like my personal life, my family life, just some of the things that I was thinking like about myself. And I could tell.
Wait, when did you start doing therapy?
I've been in therapy now for a year and a half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, and I've been going consistently every week and sometimes every 2 weeks, just depending on the schedule or if I want a vacation or something.
Every week for the last year and a half?
Yeah. And then about 6 months into therapy, I ended up getting a psychologist. Psychiatrist.
What's is
For
there, like,
medication. Yeah, they can prescribe medication.
Like, is it like?
And there's more than that too, but I go to my therapist to basically like, trauma dump and offload, right?
And what does your psychologist or psychiatrist?
Just trying to understand in my perception.
Is it kind of the same process where you're just talking about?
Yeah, but also trying to understand certain patterns and essentially trying to diagnose, like, this is based off what your experiences and what your current patterns are. This is what I think you have. And so I also didn't think I would ever start therapy, nor did I ever think I would take medicine, but I do. And I have been for the last 6 months. And that's been a journey on its own, but I will say it's definitely helped.
Was it like when you decided to do therapy, was it an all of a sudden thing, or you were thinking about it for a while and then you found it got so bad that
Right.
I think it's time to go?
I have always thought about going to therapy because there's just certain experiences that you go through where you're like, okay, I think I need to go talk to somebody. Or even, some of like, whether it's suicidal, even some of my eating patterns, you know what I mean? And just some of my upbringing. But I knew I really had to make a change when it was impacting my relationship with my family. And I'm so glad I did. And it's just been a huge eye opener, like to have somebody else who's not biased kind of take a look at your life and be like, what do you mean you don't think, like, why do you keep saying you don't think that's possible when like this happened? And you're like, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I've actually never gone to therapy, so I don't really know the exact process of like what's happening during the session. I'm assuming you just kind of, you trauma dump and then they ask you questions.
I mean, initially,
do they give you advice, or is it more?
So I feel like initially that's how it is you're trying to get to know each other. So there's questionnaires that you answer, and then you kind of start going into your past. But I think a lot of my current motivation for therapy was very present. So it's taken the entire year and a half just to get through that. And I've only recently started diving back into past experiences and then like making the connection, like I'm this person now because this happened then. And a lot of the conversations now with my therapist is conversational, and no week is the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because life continues to happen the 6 days that
How long is
we're
the
not
session?
talking.
Is it 1 hour?
An hour. Yeah, it's an hour session. And it's nice to just have somebody to talk to sometimes. And that is like a huge relief. And there are some times too where those therapy sessions will put me in a mood the entire day, because now I've opened up something or unlocked something that I've been suppressing.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking about that, right? But that's all part of the process, is trying to heal that side and like come to terms with your experience and then moving on, because what you've gone through in the past is never going to change. You've gone through it.
Yeah.
It's just dealing with it in a different light. Like,
what's interesting is I'm not saying I'm like fully healed and I don't need it. But for some reason, like I'm not drawn to it.
Yeah.
Like I feel that like it's hard to say that I don't need it, because obviously like I'm working on myself, and I just kind of, I think I just have my own process of dealing with my shit. And I think like when I talk to people, like that's why I like going for coffees and podcasts is like great. It's kind of like therapy in a way.
Version of therapy.
Yeah. But personally, I haven't really feel like I want to
Yeah.
go to therapy.
And you don't have, and I think that's the thing. I think there's a lot of us that are able to work through the obstacles, and then there's, like, for me, for instance, and I'm just speaking for myself, is I got to a point where I no longer could figure out how to fix the situation I was in. Like,
Yeah.
and it was getting to a point where I'm thinking in my head, like, can I restart? But restart doesn't mean like, let's start at square one. It meant like, let's be done with this life and hopefully I do better in the next one.
Kind of
You know
like,
what I mean?
You're talking about like a chapter of your life or like your life?
No, my life.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So that's why I needed to go.
Yeah.
I needed to find direction, and I pushed it off for so long. I went to the doctor for months trying to get all this blood work done, being like, something's wrong with my brain.
Like, you need medication and all that stuff?
Well, I just thought like maybe I had something medically wrong, which in a sense there is something medically wrong, like even with mental health, but I could not fathom the idea that it was like depression or anxiety or ADHD. Like, I was like, there's something wrong. Like, I thought I had mold in the house. I thought I had like hormone issues, which I still do, but nothing that would equate to what I was going through. And just doing anything and everything to avoid the fact that maybe there is something wrong. Not something wrong, but maybe I am going through something that is more mental than it is like physical.
Yeah.
And when I made the switch, then that's when I saw an improvement. And like I said, a lot of this improvement has been in the last 6 months or so. It took a while, and I had a lot of what I would consider like relapses. And I still have those moments.
Relapse where you're just like so depressed that...
Yeah. And you're like, nothing's working, and then you just go back into that hole. But there's been a lot that I've done. One, yes, the therapist, they give you advice. They try to point you in the right direction. And I think that the thing that I enjoy about my therapist too is she gives me an opportunity to figure it out.
Yeah, because
right?
I feel
So
like
she's
a
not
good
just
therapist
telling
should
me-
do that.
Yeah. So
And not
it's
just
like-
give you like, hey, here's what you should do.
Yeah. And she kind of just like opens up the path and is like, this is what's going on. Well, what do you think you can do?
Yeah.
And there's some times where I'm like, oh, maybe I can try this. And she's like, well, why don't we try it? Or there's some times where like, I have no freaking idea. And she's like, well, why don't we do this? But yeah, it's been crazy. And I love talking about how I go to therapy because it has been so life-changing.
Yeah.
And
I know a lot of people have gotten really good results from therapy. And obviously I recommend it.
Yeah.
For the people that feel like they have no other choice.
Right. Absolutely. And I would love to, hopefully on one of our podcasts to kind of deep dive into it. Because there's just so much that has unraveled, but everything makes sense. I mean, to just put it out there, like anxiety, depression is what I was treated for first. And then it went from...
And you were on medication for a while?
No, I just started the medication like 6 months into therapy. But it's because things were still not really progressing or improving like it should have been. And she's like, sometimes there is like a chemical imbalance and I can't treat you for that. Like, I don't diagnose you. I can tell you based off what you're telling me, what I think is going on. But, I need to send you to a psychiatrist. So that's what I did. And it went from, well, I've always been treated for the anxiety and depression. And then some other symptoms was either ADHD or bipolar. And I kept getting tested for bipolar. But now we're pretty firm in the idea that I've always had undiagnosed ADHD. But that's also based off some of my behavior when I was a lot younger. Yeah. So that's where I'm at now. I talk to my therapist every week. I see a psychiatrist. I take medication for it. And then I also took a blood test, which, one, it's to help identify which medicines work or react better with you in your blood. and it's like a genetic test, but it also checks for things that you're missing, like in your DNA or chromosomes. And I'm probably butchering this, but essentially, whatever I have, and I can talk about it another time, I don't process or synthesize folate. Well, or shoot, I forgot what it's called. Has something to do with your brain.
Oh, okay. Certain chemicals.
I have like a literal genetic problem, like where it doesn't function how it should. And
interesting.
Whatever that is, I'm gonna have to like read it and like read it to you what it is. And whatever that is, typically those individuals end up having a higher rate of depression, ADHD, or it's more intense.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we'll definitely deep dive to that some other time.
Yeah.
Because I do have
a lot of questions.
Questions and also, I guess, opinions about medication.
Yeah, I feel it. I know.
But yeah, that's for another time.
Yeah. All right, so I've talked about me. Oh, and side note, my family, beautiful, doing wonderful.
Hey.
Love my husband. My husband.
Your husband? Your husband.
My husband, absolutely amazing. And my son, he's 6 now. And next Friday, I know, next Friday, we're going to his kindergarten graduation. So
nice.
That's about it. Me in a nutshell in the last 3 years.
Cool.
All right, JERiCK, what about you?
Me in the last 3 years. All right, so first, I want to say the reason why I had to stop the podcast, the JERiCK podcast, is because I felt like I was kind of doing so many things, and I felt like I was just kind of spreading myself too thin because I wanted to pursue music. And during that time, I was also doing photography, and it was just kind of all over the place. And I didn't really have the energy to keep doing the podcast. Yeah, so I was like, I'm taking a break, stop it, and just focus on other things. So, yeah, the last 3 years, I've just been doing a lot of music. I've been DJing.
Yeah. I know. Talk about that, because that was such a switch.
It was.
You're like singer, songwriter to now you're DJ.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't even think about doing DJing and electronic music.
Right. Yeah, even that.
Because when I started doing music, it was more of pop, R&B, a little bit of hip hop. Because that's growing up, I listened to all those.
Right.
And I mean, a few of my friends DJ'd. And, well, the funny story, I don't know if I've told you the story before. One of my friends, he played at Mask. I don't think Mask exists anymore. It's like a bar off like Virginia Street.
Okay.
And that night I decided to take mushrooms. Instead of drinking, because I didn't want to drink.
Right.
And it was such an interesting night for sure. Because honestly, before that night, I didn't really enjoy listening to like EDM and bass music. I mean, I can listen to it, but like I wasn't like, oh, I need to.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that was your go-to.
Yeah, it wasn't my go-to.
Genre.
But then that night, my friend was just playing. His name's Ray. DJ named Currency. Shout out. I already told him this too, that it kind of, that night really changed my life for sure. It's one of those things that I feel like you can point to certain events in your life that was like, that was
a pivotal moment.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the word I was looking for. And that night, he was playing all these music. I was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, my mind was blown.
Right.
I just couldn't, like, maybe it was the mushrooms. Like, it was just like a whole kind of thing yeah, it was a great experience for sure. I'm sure people that were like, saw me, they were like, damn, this guy's tripping right now. And I literally was tripping ball.
Right.
But
Oh dear.
Yeah, that night it was just kind of like all these sounds were just like I've never heard this before. And because like hip hop R&B is like a different kind of vibe.
Right,
compared to,
right.
like,
Yeah. Even like I feel the demographic or like the people that it draws.
oh yeah, it's definitely
completely different.
It's definitely a different crowd for sure. And it was just like, well, the funny thing is I also had a vision in my head.
Okay.
It's kind of like my life like flash in front of me.
Wow.
It's like my future, or I don't know if it was my future, but it was like I saw things.
Right.
I saw it was like it was a first person view too, like me performing at like a festival with like thousands of people in the crowd.
Wow.
And then I saw like it's like I was on a beach house with like swimming, like infinity pool, like overlooking the ocean. I was just like, damn, this just like,
Wow, is that your house?
well, I hope so. I'm assuming it is. I'm like,
You need a live-in family with that?
yeah, it was just like, it was such a cool experience.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, that night I just kind of decided, I was like, this is the type of music that I want to make.
Right.
Like just like this kind of I guess genre. So yeah, because before that it was more like R&B, pop,
Right.
and then I totally kind of transitioned to a more EDM bass.
No,
electronic
absolutely.
music.
And other things changed too. So part of I think the 3 years too, like you found your tribe, and
I feel like I have, yeah.
and even like your attire, like the way you dressed, and like your interests.
All right, well, let me pause you right there.
Okay.
I'm so I guess I'm interested on your perspective of, because I know I've seen myself change, but then like from your perspective,
Right.
like what does it look like? Because you probably noticed.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I don't want to say it's like you've gotten comfortable, but you've just kind of settled into who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And I do feel like it changed, or it seemed to have changed when you started like doing the music, like the DJ and stuff. And at first, I think not even just me, but a lot of us who had known you before, grown up with you.
I have known Felicia since 8th grade.
Yes.
So
Oh
we go back way
I
back.
don't even know how many years that is. Dang, that's a long time, dude.
Yeah, we don't have to age ourselves,
Yeah.
but it's a while. It's a while.
It's been a long time. But I think a lot of us were confused because it's just like, where did this come from? Like, because it started with, like, I know you had your experience with mushrooms, and then I feel like that's kind of when you tapped into your, like, spiritual self a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of, like, evolved into who you are now. And I've never, like, looked at it and just been like, oh, why is he like that? I just feel like that's who you are. And I don't have a lot of extra things to say because it doesn't seem fake. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, it seems like that's who JERiCK is, and
'Cause
this is what he likes.
I think I don't know if like unleashed is the right word. I think it just kind of unlocked a lot of myself.
Right.
Because I think I was kind of restricting myself.
Yeah, like the fear's gone.
Yeah.
And now you are you.
And honestly, a lot of it has to do with psychedelics. I'm not saying take mushrooms or anything like that, but I also do recommend it if you
From experience.
Yeah. It's just a life-changing experience for sure. I think that's only the first step though. It wasn't like I didn't have to work on it. Like, oh, all I had to do was like take mushrooms and that's it. It's more of like, it was like mushrooms was the one that for you is kind of like your therapist, right? Where it kind of unlocked certain things for you. And for me, it was the psychedelics. And also I met some really cool people who are super open-minded. And it really changed how I viewed the world too.
Yeah.
Because before that, it was more, I feel like people were just kind of in their shell. And obviously, if you're around that type of people, you don't
Right,
really
then that's who
feel
you become too.
you don't feel like you want to expand.
Right.
But if you're around people that are open to
Have
that,
same mindset.
it's easier to be yourself.
That's true.
Um,
That's true.
It's so true that, you know, like you're the average of your 5 closest friends, right? So that's a big part, is having a tribe that you can relate, and also they just accept you for who you are, and like, who cares, you know?
There's like that genuine friendship and
Yeah. Like, you don't have to be like somebody else for people. And I think if you don't get anything from this episode, like, I feel like that's like one thing. Just find
your people.
Find your good circle.
Even if it means too that other relationships kind of drop off, right? Because I feel like too, even in that sense, I mean, I've always been a hermit anyways, but like just the frequency of like seeing you and stuff like that kind of, we could tell that you kind of shifted over there. And I think in the beginning, I probably was like, oh, he hates me.
Why do you say that? Because you stop hanging out?
But it's just like, oh, JERiCK's too cool to hang out with us now.
I never thought that.
I know, but I mean, I understand it now and it makes complete sense. But no, it's an interesting shift. But at the end of the day, I still feel like a connection, like a friendship with you.
Yeah.
And then even now where I'm at, like, it's so crazy to me that you've evolved into who you are now. And now I'm on like this journey of.
I mean, you're on your own journey too. Like, I've noticed that you definitely have changed since like 3 years ago. And obviously you talked about what happened, like what were the changes.
Right.
But energetically, I can see it from you.
Yay!
I can notice that you're definitely, I think you're coming out of your shell. Especially, you know, with your photography and all. I think your creative outlet has helped you do that. And I think especially the people pleaser, I feel like it's slowly
going away. Yeah.
I feel like you're not fully there yet, but it's coming. It's coming.
I have my moments too. And honestly, it's been nice because, one, I've never listened to the type of music that like you play or produce or create. My sister has always been, and I've always been one of those.
Like she's like a raver or something?
Not a raver. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she is at heart, but like the music that you play, she listens to.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes I send her your mixes too.
Oh, nice.
But I enjoy it too. I don't know what it is. Like, my perspective over the last like 5 months has definitely shifted. And it's like, now I see the purpose behind certain things. Like, I see the purpose behind that music and how it relates to me. Or even like, you know, going to the events that you do.
Yeah.
And, you know, trying dancing without any alcohol. You know,
trying to do things sober.
Yeah. Like, what is this life? And no, it's been great. So it's very nice to see you in this new way.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Even though I feel like this was you, you know, like, or it was meant to be you. Like, that's who you always were. It's just a matter of coming out and showing the world.
Yeah. And I think that's the reason why I decided to change the podcast. Because what I've talked about before, during that time, that was me.
Right.
But I feel like a lot of the things that I talked about or what I've said is probably what I wouldn't say now.
Right.
Or I don't agree anymore.
Yeah.
Just because of the changes, especially myself. I feel like I've just changed a lot.
I feel it. I could probably align with that too.
Yeah. That's why it just feels good to just start something new, start something fresh. And
I do feel like, for me now, I do feel that whatever I'm experiencing right now, like, this is my permanent space, my permanent home, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I do feel that way too. Like, obviously we're constantly changing and growing, but I think I'm definitely in alignment of who I am. Um, yeah, at least right now.
Nice.
We'll see what happens after, you know.
Well, you got to talk about some of the things that you have experienced being a DJ, because I feel like your like upcoming was also at a fast tracked.
What do you mean?
Meaning, like, you went from DJing to just doing things on your own, and then you started playing at the clubs or the bars, and then you actually played bass camp
Yeah. So
in like a year.
I remember that experience, right? I went to the my friend's show, and then during that time, I was like, all right, this is cool. I like this type of music now. It's all good.
Right.
And then I don't know how many months after, but they had another show. And I was watching my friends, like they were DJing on stage. I was like, man, like I would love to do that.
Right.
So I think it was like in November. I don't know what year it was. Probably 2021, 22. I told myself next year I'm gonna do that.
Right. Be on stage.
Yeah, be on stage, perform, and DJ. And a couple months later, I bought my first DJ controller, and so I learned. It was actually pretty easy to learn. Maybe because I'm already
familiar
with music and like the structures and all that stuff. So it was easy for me. And I think after I got my first controller, I played my first show probably like a few months after that, probably 2-3 months.
Oh, wow.
It was like it was an open deck. Like, hey, if you're a new DJ, just come and play.
Yeah, I remember. I think you invited me, but I don't think I went to that
Yeah,
one.
you probably didn't.
I didn't.
Yeah. And so I did that, and then a couple months later after that, it was like an actual like show. It was, I was nervous, but then also it was like the nerves, because you play for an hour.
Right.
The nerves, at least for me, I would get nervous like 5 minutes before, right? Because like you're like anxious, like you just want to be great.
Yeah.
But then when you're on stage, I feel like that just quickly goes away.
Right.
At least for me.
It's your element.
Yeah, I
It's
just
your
feel
comfort.
so comfortable up there. And the funny thing is, my first show, there was like 5 people in the crowd. It was,
all right, that's 5
yeah,
people. Okay.
I was like, cool. And I know all those 5 people. So it was like, it wasn't even. But then, I feel like that's a good story to have, because looking back, who knows what happens like 10 years from now.
Right.
Like, if I ever like, make it or whatever.
When you make it, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, when I play Coachella.
When?
Yeah.
And that will be the only time I will attend Coachella.
I gotcha. That's actually the only time I would go to Coachella too.
Yes.
If I'm actually performing. So yeah, I'm saying that now on the podcast. But yeah, I think like having that story, even though I was like, man, would have been cool if like there was more people. But then just having that coming from the bottom,
Oh yeah,
kind of
absolutely.
thing. And
you worked to get there.
exactly.
You worked hard.
And the funny thing is, like a year after that, that's when I played Bass Camp Festival.
Yeah, that was really cool to see.
And I actually never been to a festival before that. So the first time I went to a music festival was the first time I played.
Right.
I've always told myself that too. Like the only time I'm gonna go to a music festival is like if I'm playing or if I'm performing. And I actually got to do that.
Yeah.
I got to be on the same festival as Dead Mouse. I was like, Dead Mouse is like, the OG. Just having my name underneath, like, it's tiny. Like, you can barely see it, but it's there.
1 point font.
Yeah. It's on the flyer.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was just such a great experience. You were there.
Yeah, I was there. I support JERiCK. I do my best. I'm also a mother, and he plays way late at night.
That's true. But
So when I do go out,
props to
it means
Felicia, though.
something.
She has been into a few of my shows.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, which is hopefully you had a good time.
Of course. And I do enjoy like your music. I'll always ask for like the mix, and I downloaded SoundCloud because there's that one mix I really, really like.
She does listen to my mix, which is awesome. She's probably the only one that listens to my mix.
Every day. It's probably part of like my ADHD too, is I get like stuck on something and I just like
What is it about
over
that?
and over and over.
So let me ask you, what is it about that mix that you like? Is it the house music?
The vibe one?
Yeah.
I think it's because I think it's because it incorporates like elements of hip hop in like or current trendy songs.
Yeah.
Right? In with the house. And it just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's upbeat. And I feel like you like dance upbeat
I do like
music.
the upbeat. Like it gets me like, it does something for my
my
energy. And then I listened to you were doing binaural beats.
Yeah.
So
I also have been doing that. Well, I haven't been doing it lately, but yeah.
Well, I still listen to like the ADHD one. And then I like the recent mix you did for your last event. But because you said listen to that song Con la Brisa.
Oh yeah.
Then I'd be listening to that song on repeat.
That song's good. I really like that
It is
song.
such a good song. Like you just feel flowy.
Yeah, that's why I did a remix. He's like, I want to play this.
No, that was a good mix.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. Check him out on YouTube and SoundCloud. And where else?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, you're not on.
At least the mixes. SoundCloud.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly on SoundCloud, the mix, and then I have my music all over. Spotify, Apple Music, and all of that. And also I've been designing my own shirts.
Oh yeah, he has. And a blanket.
Yeah, this blanket
and
right
a
here.
hat.
No, I don't design. Someday probably. But this blanket right here, I actually designed it myself. So
yeah.
Links down below if you want to buy it.
Can you make me a shirt?
I got you.
Can that be our trade for the photo shoot?
I got you. I got you.
Represent.
What's your favorite color?
Purple?
Is it really?
Yeah, purple's my favorite color.
Oh.
Lately, like at my core, purple has always been like my throughout my life in different phases color. I will always love purple. But lately I've been really attracted to blue, like this.
The funny thing is, growing up, I've always liked red.
Oh, really?
Red was my favorite color. Red and like maroon, like the darker. Obviously, black is just classic. Right. But when I decided to take this face, I was looking for paint. I thought I was gonna just be like a black and white studio.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I thought I was gonna have that wall white and
Right.
this one black. But then when I got to Home Depot, I saw that purple. It's like a lavender.
Yeah.
And I just like really drawn to it. I was like, this is kind of nice.
Yeah.
And instead of going black, I actually
Kind of like a gray, like a slate gray almost.
Yeah, like a dark gray in a way.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if you can really tell in the camera, but
No, it looks great in here. But yeah, so lavender, when I was like young in elementary, that was always my favorite color.
Yeah.
What's your favorite color? Lavender. But I think as I got older, then I started to like any shade of purple really, except for like the really bright kind of like in your face ones.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've been really liking purple lately.
I thought like maybe this was planned because I was like, oh, I didn't know. Actually, in my head, I was like, oh, yeah, it is JERiCK's favorite color.
What, purple?
Yeah, but I don't know why I thought I knew that. And obviously, you just mentioned that it was just a recent choice, but that's funny.
I mean, yeah, I think probably I would say the last couple of years I've liked purple. Just because when the first shirt that I actually made was purple. And I was like, man, this is actually kind of nice.
Purple's a good color.
It is a good color. It's a very neutral in a way because it's a combination of like blue and red.
Right.
So it's like in the middle.
I don't own a lot of purple, but I enjoy the color.
I'll make you a purple shirt. I got you.
Thanks.
Is that it
Yeah.
for the first episode?
I mean, I'm like looking at my watch. It's 3:12.
We were supposed to
Yeah.
record at 1, but Felicia was late.
First of all, circling back, well, we should probably talk about. Oh my God, my voice. See, we should probably talk about like therapy and stuff later, so I can just offload all my experiences.
Yeah.
But part of this healing journey is just understanding who I am as a person and just allowing it to happen.
Exactly.
So when I get in these modes of like, I got to clean, I just got to get it done, and then I get attached. And not to say that that's how it should be done, because that's not how life works, and you got to detach sometimes and do other things. But I was really in my mode to clean. So I was cleaning, I was organizing, it's looking really good. I'm not mad.
It's all good. Ain't tripping.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess that's it for the first episode of this podcast. Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. JERiCK will come prepared next time with a little jingle
Yeah.
or a closeout.
I don't know about
Or maybe he'll just put his music on and then that'll close it out.
Yeah. I'm gonna put my music on right now.
But thanks for listening
Yeah.
to our updates for the last 3 years.
And I guess that's it for the episode, and we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Peace.